Hello all of you wonderful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and I'm actually here today with something a little bit different. For you see, while I love peddling my Tesco brand comedy with gaming lists every other day, or getting my unbridled rage out to you people on my show These Things Suck, there's actually one thing that I love more than both of these, and that is a good story. So when world traveller and excellent scribe of What Culture, Benjamin Richardson, slid this tale across my desk in a very greasy envelope, might I add, I jumped at the chance. Because this story that I'm about to tell you has everything. It has sneakiness, it has consoles, it has James Bond-esque plans, and it all involves Nintendo and the Yakuza. Now, as anyone who's played Sega's Yakuza series will know, the Japanese Mafia isn't all just tattoos, missing pinkies, and general being bad dudes with hearts of gold, because in these games you can also... What's the best way to describe this? Oh yes, fanny about with bowling, karaoke, and of course racking up hits on Virtua Fighter. Well, it turns out at one point in time they weren't interested in spending quarters as much as they were making them via some shady practices, including our favourite do-gooders of the world, Nintendo. But lest we not forget, Nintendo didn't always start out as a video games manufacturer. No. They actually started out with playing cards. Or more specifically, Hanafuda, playing cards that were crafted from mulberry bark, each of which were ornately decorated with illustrations of flowers. Though meant to be obviously a wholesome product, their detail and beauty attracted the attention of the local bookies, and soon Nintendo's decks were all you'd see in gambling parlours across Kyoto. And seeing as gambling is a serious business, new decks were used each and every game to avoid tampering with, meaning that Nintendo was actually making some serious money off these less than reputable sources. And it was in these dens of iniquity that the Yakuza were born, mainly because there was a very popular card game called Oichi Kabu, which had a certain hand of 8, 9, and 3, which was Yatsu, Ku, and San, which as an amalgamation became Yakuza, but because it basically meant that the player had earned 0 points by playing this hand, and therefore the term Yakuza came to reflect people who were pointless. But they certainly weren't useless to Nintendo, because this steady stream of income allowed them to invest in different areas of different markets. But it was a good thing that they did, because the Hanafuda market actually started to dry up around the mid-60s. Enter Gunpei Yokoi, a maintenance engineer in one of Nintendo's factories, who demonstrated an innovative extendable arm to the then Nintendo boss, Hiroshi Yamauchi. He loved the concept and kickstarted their new venture, which was toys. The Ultra Hand, as it was known, flew off the shelves, and soon Yamauchi's entire attention was diverted to making gizmos and playthings. In short order, business was booming. In fact, it was probably doing too well, because Nintendo could never actually keep up with the demand for their products. And this, of course, attracted the attention of the Yakuza. But they weren't ready to strike just yet. In the early 80s, the advent of the arcade industry saw Nintendo transform from a popular domestic toy merchant into an internationally recognized commodity. Looking to expand into the USA, Shigeru Miyamoto was asked to repurpose one cabinet radar scope, which had failed to hit sales targets in the country. Americans went absolutely ape over his new game Donkey Kong, and soon the company was making money hand over hairy fist. And it was actually this money that allowed them the stability to weather the storm of the 1983 video game market collapse, which allowed them to therefore go on and release the Nintendo Entertainment System, or as it was known in Japan, the Famicom. Yet the Famicom wasn't the only big fish in the ocean, as while Nintendo milked the Famicom and the NES's lifespan for maximum profit, Sega was working away at a true contender to the throne, a truly mean machine that does what Nintendo don't. The Sega Genesis arrived on the market with the impact of a freight train, and with its mascot in the form of Sonic the edgy hedgehog, and the fact that its marketing was abrasive, loud, and very current with what was going on at the time in the markets of the youth. It made the NES look completely prehistoric, and so Nintendo had to act fast. What followed was 2 years of intense R&D by Famicom designer Masayuki Umera and his team. As Nintendo were drawn into a sort of technological arms race, they concocted a behemoth of a system capable of 256 color graphics, 8-channel sampled audio, and the novel Mode 7 function, which allowed for a range of previously unimaginable sprite sorcery. Now, it did come at the slight cost of processing speed, something that Sega's marketing was very clear to capitalize on. But when you compare the two, you've got to admit that the Sega's graphics definitely look muddier by comparison. As news of this amazing console dripped out to the Japanese public, excitement began to build and build, especially when you consider that the company hadn't released any sizable hardware since 1983, excluding the Game Boy, of course. Apparently, once rumours began circulating of an October 1990 release date for this Super Famicom, electronic retailers across Japan were inundated with calls, so much so that they couldn't handle with the demand. When Nintendo formally announced the 21st of November 1990 launch date shortly after, shops began pre-sales. Within a week, demand outstripped the potential supplies of wholesalers, and it's here that the Yakuza stepped back into the picture. Now, you see, the astonishing demand for this product had caught their attention because of the fact that they realized that if they could get their hands on this console before anyone else, they could make an absolute killing on the black market. And Nintendo, having heard word of this happening through their sources and making it all the way to their inner circle, had to do something about it. They couldn't have these consoles being sold on the black market, nor the backlash of disappointment from those who pre-ordered. And so what they did was concoct a plan that sounded straight out of a James Bond movie, and soon Operation Midnight Shipping was good to commence. Without any fanfare or ceremony, and at the start of a chilly autumn morning, workmen loaded unspecified packages into enormous 10-ton trucks, before each truck then left separately into the mist. I don't actually know if it was misty on that day, but it definitely adds to the tale if it was. Only the most essential members of the logistics chain were given the full details of what was going on, and nobody but the key stockists knew when the trucks would leave, arrive, or the details of their manifest. The workers just thought that they were simply packing boxes. The drivers thought they were just simply carrying undisclosed goods. But thanks to their efforts, 300,000 Super Famicom units made their way out towards the public without a single one being stolen in the process. It was a brilliant, subtle, and altogether very successful plan, and almost sat in direct contrast to what happened after, because when the stores opened, they were flooded, and chaos erupted as people battled to get their orders. In fact, it got so bad that the Japanese government later told Nintendo to only release consoles at weekends in the future because of the disruption to traffic and work that this caused. But in the grand scheme of things, Nintendo were more than happy to take the hit on this one. And you know what, there's actually a little caveat to this story as well, because years down the line, the series developer of the Yakuza games actually approached Nintendo to ask for help with publishing the titles. And you know what they said? No. Whether or not it was down to the encounters with the Yakuza from this story that were to blame for this, who can say? But it's a nice little addendum, if ever there was one. And so there we go. That was how Nintendo partially helped create and then beat the Yakuza. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends. It's something a little bit different, I realise. But if you'd like to hear more tales and behind-the-curtain peeks into the gaming industry, then let me know down below, because I'd love to do more of these further down the line. I hope that you're well and treating yourself as fairly as you possibly can. And now stay in and smash it, you big ledge. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Look, my son, look at the marvel that I have created. Comics. They called me a fool for trying to put a dead meme onto a t-shirt. A damn bold fool! A damn bold fool with an ass that won't quit. It got quite personal towards the end there. But look who's laughing now! Quiet! Quiet, my son, my ugly son. For my other creation rises. Look at the quality fabric, hand-stitched by blind orphans. The perfect letter spacing calculated so meticulously that Rich Hudson had an erection for months about it. And a colouring so deep that I had to buy the dye off the dark web. Oh, for God's sake, Josh!
Sorry.
Marvel. Oh no, the beast has grown angry, angered by our drab fashion choices. I am such a fool to think that it wouldn't try to infect us with its perfect design. Quick, we must do something to appease the beast. Why don't we buy one from shop.whatculture.com? Oh. Look, it's already got Scott Nash.
Oh no!
But where can I buy one? Are you kidding me? This is why I don't give you any extra lines. But also at shop.whatculture.com. Quick, let's go and buy one right now. Let's go buy one right now.
Right now.
Oh, don't you try hard now. You've already lost your bit. Oscar's in the f***ing bin. Ah, there we go. Doesn't that look better? I feel so virile and alive, and it's also fixed your hump. That's actually pretty good. Now, do yourself a favour and act like your mum and spread the love, aka her legs, and buy yourself one of these glorious dead memes on a t-shirt, courtesy of this handsome chap right here. You're very, very welcome.
Cut!
Jesus Christ, mine is so
It's
itchy.
all wet.
What? It stinks. I pissed on yours.
The worst font ever. I want to die.